You felt it, didn't you? That shift, that subtle crack in the air around you, that moment somewhere between yesterday and this morning when something heavy lifted off your chest and you couldn't explain why. You woke up different. Not better yet, not healed yet, but different. Like chains you didn't know you were wearing, suddenly rusted through and fell to the floor. And now you're here, searching for answers, looking for someone to confirm what your soul already knows. So let me be the one to tell you. The curse just expired. Yeah, I said it. The curse, the hex, the evil eye, the dark energy that someone deliberately, intentionally, maliciously placed on your life. The spiritual contract that was never supposed to exist. The energetic prison someone built around your potential. It just hit its expiration date, and whoever put it there, they felt it too. They woke up this morning with a pit in their stomach they can't explain, a dread they can't name, a knowing that something shifted in their favor, and it just shifted right back out. See? You've been walking around for years, maybe decades, wondering why nothing works for you. Why doors that open for everyone else slam shut in your face. Why relationships that should have flourished turn to poison. Why money flows through your fingers like water no matter how hard you work. Why your body betrays you. Why your mind tortures you. Why every time you get close to something good, something invisible snatches it away. You thought it was bad luck. You thought it was karma from a past life. You thought maybe God just didn't like you. You thought maybe you were fundamentally broken, cursed from birth, destined to struggle while others glide through life on easy mode. But it wasn't any of that. It was them. Someone who smiled in your face while whispering destruction into the spiritual realm. Someone who hugged you while visualizing your downfall. Someone who said they loved you while secretly hoping you'd never succeed. Someone who couldn't stand watching you shine, so they decided to dim your light through means you couldn't see, couldn't prove, couldn't fight against. They went to dark places for this. Places most people don't even believe exist. They lit candles with your name on them. They whispered intentions into the night that were designed to cripple you. They called upon forces they had no business calling upon, and they aimed every ounce of that destructive energy directly at your life. And it worked. Oh, it worked beautifully for them. For a while. You started failing at things you used to excel at. Relationships crumbled for no logical reason. Your health deteriorated even though doctors couldn't find anything wrong. Opportunities vanished at the last minute. People who were supposed to help you suddenly turned cold. Your own mind became your enemy, filled with thoughts of worthlessness and despair that didn't feel like yours. Because they weren't yours. They were planted, installed, programmed into your energy field by someone who wanted to watch you suffer. And you did suffer. Silently. Confused, wondering what you did wrong, wondering why the universe seemed to hate you specifically, wondering if you'd ever catch a break. But here's what they didn't tell you when they cast that curse. Here's what the darkness conveniently left out of the fine print. Every curse has an expiration date. Every hex runs out of fuel. Every evil intention eventually burns through its energy source. Every spiritual attack has a shelf life. And when that shelf life ends, when the curse expires, something catastrophic happens. It doesn't just stop. It reverses. Every single thing that was taken from you. Every opportunity that was blocked. Every relationship that was poisoned. Every blessing that was intercepted, it all comes rushing back. Not slowly, not gradually. It floods, it overwhelms. It crashes into your life like a dam breaking, and suddenly everything that was impossible becomes inevitable. But that's not even the best part. The best part is what happens to them. See, when you curse someone and that curse expires, you don't just lose your power over them. You inherit everything you sent. Every ounce of destruction you aimed at them boomerangs back with compound interest. Every blocked blessing becomes your blocked blessing. Every poisoned relationship becomes your poisoned relationship. Every moment of suffering you caused gets deposited directly into your account, and they can feel it starting already. Right now, as you're reading this, the person who cursed you is experiencing the first waves of what's coming. Unexplained anxiety, sudden bad luck, things that were working suddenly breaking, people who love them suddenly pulling away, the same symptoms you've been experiencing for years now manifesting in their life on an accelerated timeline. Because that's the law. That's how this works. You can't send darkness into the universe without eventually becoming its home. You can't wish destruction on someone without building your own grave. You can't curse someone's life without signing your own spiritual death warrant. And you, my beautiful, battered, resilient soul, you survived it. You actually survived a curse that was designed to end you. Do you understand how rare that is? Do you understand what that says about what you're made of? Most people crumble under that kind of spiritual warfare. Most people lose themselves completely. Most people become shells of who they were supposed to be. But not you. You kept going. You kept fighting. Even when you didn't know what you were fighting against. Even when you couldn't see the enemy. Even when every logical explanation failed to capture what was really happening. You held on. You endured. You refused to let them win, even though you didn't know there was a them to beat. And now the tables have turned so dramatically that the whole game is different. Let me tell you what's about to unfold in your life over the next few weeks and months. Let me paint you a picture of what happens when a curse expires and the universe begins its correction process. First, you're going to feel lighter. Not metaphorically, physically lighter. That heaviness you've been carrying, that invisible weight on your shoulders, it's going to lift. You're going to wake up one morning and realize you actually want to get out of bed. You're going to catch yourself smiling for no reason. You're going to feel hope, real hope, for the first time in longer than you can remember. Second, people are going to start acting differently around you. The ones who were sent to block you, to distract you, to drain you, they're going to fade away. They won't even know why they're leaving. They'll make up excuses, find reasons to distance themselves. But the truth is, they can't stand in your light anymore. The curse was the only thing keeping them attached to you, and now that it's gone, so are they. Third, opportunities are going to start appearing from nowhere. Jobs you didn't apply for, connections you didn't seek, doors you didn't knock on. They're going to swing open and practically pull you through, because everything that was blocked is now flowing. Everything that was dammed up is now rushing forward. Years of intercepted blessings all arriving at once. Fourth, your health is going to improve. Those mysterious symptoms that no doctor could explain. That fatigue that didn't make sense. That pain that came from nowhere. Watch it start to fade. Watch your body remember what it feels like to function without spiritual interference. Watch yourself come back to life in ways you'd given up hoping for. Fifth, your mind is going to clear. Those intrusive thoughts, that voice telling you you're worthless, That constant anxiety and depression that felt chemically imbalanced but never responded to medication. Watch it lift, because it was never a chemical imbalance, it was a spiritual attack. And now that the attack is over, your mind can finally heal. But here's what I need you to understand. This isn't magic. This isn't wishful thinking. This is spiritual law. What was sent against you has reached its limit. The energy that was used to bind you has been exhausted. The contract that was written in darkness has expired, and now you're free. Not free to go back to who you were before. That person is gone. They died under the weight of that curse. But free to become who you were always supposed to be. Free to step into the version of yourself that was so threatening, so powerful, so magnificent that someone felt the need to curse you just to stop it from emerging. Think about that for a second. Someone saw your potential, and it terrified them so much that they went to war against you in the spiritual realm. Someone looked at what you could become and decided they'd rather destroy you than watch you shine. Someone was so intimidated by your light that they tried to extinguish it using methods most people don't even believe exist. That's not an insult. That's confirmation. That's proof of what you carry. That's evidence that you were never ordinary, never average, never meant to live a small life. You were targeted precisely because you were dangerous. You were cursed precisely because you were powerful. You were attacked precisely because someone knew that if you ever reached your potential, they'd never be able to compete. And now that the curse is lifted, now that the chains have fallen, now that the spiritual prison has crumbled, you get to show them exactly what they were trying to prevent. You get to rise while they watch. You get to succeed while they suffer the consequences of their own darkness. You get to live the life they tried to steal from you while they live the life they created for themselves through their own hatred. The person who cursed you is going to see your transformation. They're going to watch you glow up. They're going to witness your blessings arrive one after another, and every single blessing you receive is going to feel like a knife in their chest. Not because you're doing anything to them, but because your success is the natural consequence of their curse expiring. Your joy is the inevitable result of their darkness being returned to sender. They're going to try to curse you again. Let them try. It won't work anymore. You've been immunized. You've walked through the fire. You've developed antibodies against their specific strain of hatred. Every future attempt they make will bounce off you and hit them twice as hard. They've lost their power over you permanently, and somewhere deep inside, they know it. Now let me speak to the part of you that's doubting this. The part that's read this far but still isn't sure. The part that's been hurt so many times that hope feels dangerous. The part that's afraid to believe because believing and being disappointed again might finally break you. I understand. I understand why you're hesitant. After everything you've been through, trust doesn't come easy. Belief feels like a risk. Hope feels like a setup for more pain. But answer me this. Have you not noticed things shifting already? Small things, subtle things, a change in energy, a lightness you can't explain, a sense that something is different even if you can't put your finger on what, a knowing in your gut that a chapter just ended and a new one is beginning. That's not imagination, that's confirmation. That's your spirit recognizing what your mind is still catching up to. The curse expired. The shift happened. The reversal has begun. And now, all you have to do is stop fighting against your own blessing. Stop expecting the other shoe to drop. Stop waiting for something to go wrong. Start moving like someone who's been freed. Start thinking like someone who's been released. Start living like someone who just survived a spiritual assassination attempt and came out stronger. Because that's exactly what you are. A survivor. A warrior. A walking miracle. Someone who took a direct hit from darkness itself and refused to go down. Someone who carried a curse for years and still managed to keep their heart. Someone who was targeted for destruction and chose survival anyway. They threw everything at you. Everything. And you're still here. Still breathing. Still hoping. Still searching for answers. Still fighting for your life. And now the fight is over. Now the war has been won. Now the curse that was supposed to end you has ended itself. And everything that comes next, every blessing, every opportunity, every relationship, every success, it's all yours. Uncursed, unblocked, unstoppable. Watch what unfolds next. Watch doors fly open that you didn't even know existed. Watch people appear in your life who are actually meant to be there. Watch your health return. Watch your mind clear. Watch your finances shift. Watch your whole reality transform. And when it does, when you're standing in the middle of blessings you once thought were impossible, remember this moment. Remember who told you it was coming. Remember that you survived something most people can't even comprehend. And remember that the person who cursed you is watching. They're watching you rise. They're watching everything they tried to prevent unfold. They're watching their darkness become their own prison while you walk free. The curse just expired, and your real life just began. You know what's funny? They thought they had you figured out. Yeah, they did. They spent years watching you, studying you, taking notes like you were some kind of science experiment. They memorized your patterns, your reactions, your triggers. They knew what made you laugh, what made you cry, what made you fold. They had files on you, mental files, filled with every weakness, every insecurity, every moment you let your guard down. And they really thought that was enough. That knowing your past meant they owned your future. What a joke. See, here's what they didn't account for. They studied the old you. They studied the version of you that was predictable, that was soft, that was desperate for their approval. They studied the version that explained itself, that apologized for existing, that bent over backwards just to keep people who didn't deserve to be kept. They memorized that version like a textbook, highlighted it, underlined it, thought they could pass any test you threw at them. But then you changed the curriculum, didn't you? Oh, they didn't see that coming. Not even close. Because while they were busy studying who you were busy becoming someone they'd never met. You evolved in silence. You transformed in the dark. And when you stepped back into the light, they were holding outdated maps to a city that no longer exists. That's the thing about people who think they know you. They know a version, a chapter, a moment frozen in time. But you're not a photograph. You're a film that keeps rolling. And while they were stuck on frame 1, you were already in a whole different movie. Let me tell you something about these people. They're not smart. They're not strategic. They're lazy. They studied you because they didn't want to do the real work. They didn't want to build themselves up, so they spent all their energy trying to break you down. They thought if they could just figure out your weak spots, they could control you forever, manipulate you, use you, keep you small enough to manage. But weakness isn't permanent, is it? No. Weakness is just strength that hasn't been tested yet. And every time they poked at your wounds, every time they exploited your kindness, every time they used your own heart against you, they were teaching you, they were showing you exactly what not to be, exactly who not to trust, exactly how the game is really played. And you learned, didn't you? Oh, you learned real good. See, they made a critical mistake. They assumed you'd stay the same. They assumed trauma would break you, not build you. They assumed pain would make you weaker, not wiser. They looked at your scars and saw defeat. But those scars, those were receipts. Proof that you survived what was meant to destroy you. And every single one of them made you harder to hurt, harder to read, harder to predict. You became a ghost in your own story. You stopped reacting, stopped explaining, stopped showing your cards to people who only wanted to cheat. And suddenly all their research, all their data, all their little mental files, worthless, absolutely worthless. They're sitting there now, scratching their heads, wondering what the hell happened. They threw the same bait that used to work, and you didn't bite. They pushed the same buttons that used to make you crumble, and you didn't flinch. They expected tears, and you gave them silence. They expected anger, and you gave them indifference. They expected you to come running back, and you kept walking like they never existed. And that, my friend, that's what's killing them. Because control freaks can't handle what they can't control. Manipulators can't manipulate what they can't predict. And you've become the one variable they never accounted for. The glitch in their system. The error in their equation. They built their whole strategy around a version of you that's dead and buried. And now they're fighting a war with weapons that don't work anymore. You want to know real power? Real power isn't being the loudest in the room. It isn't flexing, isn't bragging, isn't proving yourself to people who already made up their minds about you. Real power is being underestimated and using it to your advantage. Real power is letting them think they've got you figured out while you're 3 moves ahead. Real power is silence that screams, absence that haunts, unpredictability that terrifies. And you've got it now. You've got that power. They thought your kindness was weakness. Wrong. Your kindness was a choice. And now you're choosing differently. They thought your forgiveness meant they could keep hurting you. Wrong. Your forgiveness was for you, not them. And it doesn't come with a free pass to do it again. They thought your patience meant you'd wait forever. Wrong. Your patience was just you gathering information, watching, learning, waiting for the right moment to make your move. And now you're moving, and they can't keep up. See, predictable people are safe. They're comfortable. They're easy to manage. But you stopped being safe the moment you stopped caring what they thought. You stopped being comfortable the moment you chose growth over stagnation. You stopped being easy to manage the moment you realized you were never meant to be managed in the first place. You were meant to be free, wild, untamed, unchained. They wanted a puppet. They got a hurricane. Let's talk about what it feels like for them right now. Because I want you to understand the chaos you've created in their minds just by being unpredictable. They're obsessed. They're checking your socials, looking for clues. They're asking mutual friends about you, fishing for information. They're replaying every conversation, every interaction, trying to figure out where they lost control. And the answer? They never had it. They just had an illusion of it. An illusion you allowed because you didn't know your own power yet. But now that you do, now that you've woken up to what you're capable of, that illusion is shattered, and they're standing in the broken glass, bleeding, wondering how they got cut by someone they thought was harmless. You know what they're really afraid of? It's not revenge. It's not that you're going to come after them, expose them, destroy them. No, what they're really afraid of is irrelevance. They're afraid that you've moved on so completely, so totally, that they don't even register on your radar anymore. They're afraid that all their games, all their manipulation, all their schemes meant nothing, that they were just a speed bump on your road to greatness. And they were. That's exactly what they were. But here's the beautiful part. You don't need to do anything. You don't need to announce your moves, explain your silence, or prove your growth. Your existence is enough. The fact that you're thriving without them is the loudest statement you could ever make. The fact that you're at peace while they're in chaos is the ultimate revenge. They studied your whole life and still couldn't predict your next move. You know why? Because your next move comes from a version of you they've never seen. A version forged in fire, tempered by betrayal, sharpened by every single person who tried to use your own heart as a weapon against you. This version doesn't announce, doesn't explain, doesn't warn. This version just moves, silently, strategically, ruthlessly. And by the time they realize what happened, it's already done. You're not the person they hurt anymore. You're not the person who cried alone, who questioned their worth, who begged for crumbs of affection from people who weren't even hungry. You're not the person who apologized for having feelings, who shrunk themselves to fit into spaces that were never meant for them, who gave second chances like they were free when they should have cost everything. That person taught you. That person suffered so you could learn. That person died so this version of you could live. And this version is untouchable, unreadable, unpredictable. They had spreadsheets on your trauma. They had databases on your insecurities. They had algorithms predicting your every move based on your past behavior. But algorithms can't account for transformation. Data can't measure the moment a soul decides it's done being small. Spreadsheets don't have a column for rebirth. And that's what happened. You were reborn. Right under their noses, in the silence they mistook for defeat, in the distance they mistook for weakness, in the peace they mistook for surrender. You were becoming something their limited minds could never comprehend. So let them study, let them watch, let them analyze and theorize and strategize. It won't help them, because you're not following a script anymore. You're not playing a character they wrote for you. You're improvising. You're creating. You're living a story they don't have access to. And the plot twist? They'll never see it coming. You've learned something they never will. You've learned that the greatest revenge isn't destruction, it's evolution. It's becoming so different, so elevated, so transformed that the person they hurt doesn't even exist anymore. You've learned that closure isn't something they give you, it's something you take. It's deciding on your own terms, in your own time, that this chapter is over, that their access is revoked, that the old patterns are dead. They can knock all they want. The door doesn't exist anymore. You didn't just lock it. You removed it from the house entirely, built a whole new structure they don't have blueprints for. And now they're standing outside a building they don't recognize, wondering why their old keys don't work. Because they don't live here anymore. They never did. They were just visitors who overstayed their welcome. And now, evicted. Permanently. Here's what I need you to understand. Your unpredictability isn't chaos. It's strategy. It's protection. It's power. When people can't predict you, they can't control you. When they can't control you, they can't hurt you. When they can't hurt you, they become irrelevant. And irrelevance? That's the death sentence for people who fed off your attention. But you used to be an open book. They read you cover to cover, memorized every chapter, knew exactly which pages to turn to when they wanted something. But now you're written in a language they don't speak. Now the pages are blank to them. Now the book is locked in a vault they don't have the combination to. And they're desperate. Desperate to figure you out again. Desperate to find the old you hiding somewhere inside. Desperate to believe that all their investment, all their manipulation, all their carefully constructed control wasn't for nothing. But it was. It was all for nothing. Because you're gone. Not physically. Not geographically. But the you they knew, the you they exploited, the you they thought they owned, ghost, vapor, memory. What's left is something they can't touch, something they can't reach, something that looks at them like a stranger because in every way that matters. That's exactly what you are now. A stranger who wears a familiar face, but carries an unfamiliar soul. And that soul? That soul has seen things, learned things, survived things. That soul doesn't beg anymore, doesn't chase anymore, doesn't shrink anymore. That soul walks into rooms and changes the energy. That soul speaks and people listen. That soul stays silent and people wonder. That soul moves different because it is different. They studied your whole life. Every failure, every heartbreak, every moment of weakness. They compiled data on your darkest days. They thought that knowledge was power. But knowledge is only power when it's current. And theirs? Expired. Outdated, useless. You updated the software. They're still running the old version. You evolved the operating system. They're still trying to hack code that doesn't exist anymore. You became a new model entirely. They're still reading the manual for a machine that's been discontinued. And that gap between who they think you are and who you actually are, that's your advantage. That's your armor. That's your weapon. So let them keep studying. Let them keep watching. Let them keep waiting for the old you to resurface. They'll be waiting forever. Because the old you isn't on vacation. The old you isn't hiding. The old you is dead, buried, mourned. And this new you wrote the eulogy, attended the funeral, moved on. They couldn't predict your next move because your next move doesn't come from pain anymore. It comes from power. It doesn't come from reaction anymore. It comes from intention. It doesn't come from fear anymore. It comes from freedom. And freedom? Freedom is the most unpredictable force in the universe. Because free people don't follow scripts. Free people don't stay in boxes. Free people don't behave the way others expect them to. Free people move according to their own rhythm, their own vision, their own truth. And you're finally free. They studied your whole life and still couldn't predict your next move. And you know what? They never will. Because the version of you they knew is never coming back. And the version of you that exists now, this version doesn't announce, doesn't explain, doesn't warn. This version just wins. In silence, in peace, in power. And there's not a damn thing they can do about it.